Alright gang, I did it again. I bought another one. Just a couple months ago I picked up a 92 Kawasaki Bayou 220 for my daughter. And now my wife said she was interested in these things, so I ended up buying another one. Now honestly, I could stop anytime I want. Really, I could stop. I don't have a problem. Let's do a quick walk around. This is a 94 Kawasaki Bayou 220. It's two-wheel drive. And the plastics on this one are in much tougher shape than the last one I had. And the seats in kind of hard shape too. Here we've got some holes and some tears. Gas gauge, pretty much the same story. It's all fogged over, doesn't work. He tells me the neutral light doesn't work, so we'll dip into that, figure that out. It does have brand new rear tires, so that's a bonus, and the front tires look good enough for now. Let's talk about the plastics here. So we've got a hole in the plastics here, which I can live with that. What I don't think I can live with is there's just a piece missing completely here. So I will be on the lookout for some replacement plastics on this. If I can't get them, we can run it the way it is for now. We'll get creative with some zip ties just to kind of get everything positioned where it belongs. The other thing that's similar to the last one is that the rack and the brush bar are really mangled up. They're all bent. It's hard to see, I think, with the camera here, but everything is in kind of kittywampus shape, and maybe we can get a better feel from the driver's seat. This whole thing is just kind of twisted that direction. So I'll pull those off and get that all squared away. I'm starting to tear this thing down and pull stuff off so I can fix what needs to be fixed. And I started thinking, man, if I just had a parts machine, it doesn't need to be identical, but boy, if I just had a parts machine, it would be so much easier. You know, a parts machine like that. Believe it or not, I've been just watching for anything to pop up. This thing came up yesterday for 250 bucks. Everything's there. You can tell this one's a little more bent up and beat up than the other one, but it runs. All the parts are there, and I'm going to see what I can use from this one. So this is my parts machine. This front fender is really where I was hoping to find something I could use. So as we look through this thing, you can see I've got a crack right up front here. There's another piece is completely cracked off right there. But the good news is, from here over, this piece is missing on the other machine. So I'm going to see what I can do with this one to see if it's worth saving. I've got a couple of cracks, and this is kind of bowed out. It's bowed out on both sides, which makes me think this thing must have smashed something pretty solid up front and maybe pushed everything back. So I'm going to tear this down and just take a look and see what kind of condition these plastics are really in. All right, I'm going to cut to the chase on that neutral light. Here's what I'm doing, is chasing wires And this is the socket for the neutral light. This brown wire supplies power, and the light green wire is ground. And if I follow that wire, let's see if we can find it underneath here. There it is right there. So I chase that, and I have a ground when I'm in neutral, and when I take it out of neutral, I lose my ground. So I'm good all the way up to there. I tested it right to that plug coming off of the harness. That's good. So I've narrowed it down to this little segment of wire between this plug and the socket. And so what I did is stuck some probes in here in different places and just kind of worked my way through between these probes. And what I found is between these two probes, I have an open circuit. That means that wire is broken inside here somewhere, so all I have to do is splice in a new piece. We're starting on plastics repair, and this is the parts machine front fender, and I want to use it because it's actually got everything here, but it's got a lot of cracks in it. So I'm going to be going through and just plastic welding up all these cracks. So I'll show you how I do that in a minute. Got this one here, and I've got this one here, for example. And if we swing around to this side, I've got another one up here. But the other problem with this one is it had been, let me get a good view of this. It had gotten bowed out really bad, and it was probably sitting like that for a long enough time that it's got a memory now. And what I need to do before I fix these cracks is I'd like to warm this up and bend it back into shape. This one's not as bad, but it's also got a bow to it. So how do I know what shape I'm looking for? Well, we'll move over to my original fender. If we look up here, you can see there's just a slight bow, if any, and then it dips in at the end. You can kind of see when you look here. So I want this part to be fairly straight, and then that dip in there is okay. We'll start on this side since it doesn't need much. I'll hold it there for a minute, let it cool off, and see if it holds its shape. I'm going to overcorrect just a little bit because I think it's going to want to spring back. Okay, both of those are done. Nice and straight. Right in here, so I was looking for. That looks really good. One thing I would suggest in hindsight is when I heated this, you can see, if we get up close, it started to bubble. I actually overheated that. What I should have done, if I was thinking, is I should have heated it from the back side. That way if anything bubbled, you wouldn't see it. Now let's move on and I'll show you how I fix these cracks. Let's use this one right here as an example of how I'm going to plastic weld this. So this one's actually not just cracked, but it's kind of bent out of shape. There's some tension that's kind of pulled that apart. So what I need to do first is stabilize this, and I'll always start on the back side, and I'll plastic weld the back side, then I'll come around and get the front. I'll use a clamp to lock that back into place. I'll have to just do my best to work around this clamp. But I just want to get it stabilized first. So I'm using a soldering iron here with just a kind of a blunt tip. And what I'm going to do here is just heat up this plastic until it starts to melt, and then I'll just kind of push it back together. I want to get in deep enough that I get into that crack and then just push it back in place. Now the back doesn't have to be pretty, but I'm going to let that cool off now, and then I'll move on and work on the rest of it. Okay, that should be good. Let's see if it holds together. Yep, that looks great. Now I'm just going to finish up the rest of this, at least what I can reach here. You can't see very well, but it runs right down through here. So again, I'm just going to put a fairly deep trough in there without going all the way through. I'm kind of working on it in small sections so I can come back to this plastic while it's hot and just push it back over. And I'm not so concerned about aesthetics on the back side here. I just want all my strength back in this plastic. You can just kind of push it around. I'll finish up this last section right here. Okay, that should be good. Let's flip it over now and hit the front section. Okay, here we go. Be a little bit more careful on this one now. It's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to take a little more time. I'm going to just follow that crack all the way down here. There we go. Push it back over. There you go. And I'll finish that off with a light sanding. But I've probably got a dozen or more cracks throughout this thing that I have to touch up. Let's take a quick look at all the plastic repairs. You can see I've got to sand these on the outside. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. This was kind of a big one. 5, 6. This piece was actually broke off completely. I was able to weld that back in, so let's hope that holds up. Let's see here. 7, found a little crack here. 8, again, this piece was almost completely severed, but this is just a little tab that holds that top piece, the tank cover in. So we got that back together. This whole lip was cracked out, so both top and bottom, I've got that all welded back together. So that looks pretty good. And then the last bit of work I did on this was, this had a crack here, but this piece is a little tab that locks into the back fender. On this side it was missing completely, so I got another piece of plastic that was shaped the way I wanted it and welded that in, and that's a good solid fit. Let's test fit this fender. I left all these bolts in the holes so I don't lose them. Looks like a nice fit. Everything lined up. Got this piece in now. That's nice and solid. And this side as well. So I think that's going to work out pretty good. Let's throw that gas tank cover on there, just see if that lines up. I'm very happy with that fit. Got nice lines everywhere. Everything fits up. So now I'll just do a little bit of cleanup and start putting this thing back together. Okay, we're completely reassembled. The plastics look really nice for a machine of this age. Everything looks way better than when I started. I got the racks all straightened out as best I could. basically just took the best of the two machines and put them on this one. I'm going to show you one other mod that I made here. This is at my wife's request. She wanted a hand shifter instead of the foot shifter. So I was able to buy a shifter here, and I had to bend it just a little bit to get the clearance I needed, but now this can be shifted by hand. Makes it a little bit easier when you're wearing big boots to get into gear and out of gear. So let's pull this thing out. Okay, here it is all done. It's got everything put back together. I fixed the plastics, straightened out all of these racks, got those on there. Now I took this front fender piece off of the parts machine, so that's from the parts machine. This front grille and headlight assembly I took off the parts machine, took the two best headlights, put them on there. I took the front wheels and tires off the parts machine and put them on here. And what else? I think that's about it. So the only thing I got left to do on this one is put a new seat cover on, because the seat cover's in not too bad a shape, but it's got some holes, so we might as well put a fresh cover on that. Let me show you one more thing. There's a little bonus out of this job. There's the parts machine. Now normally a parts machine gets torn down and pushed aside into the back of the garage, and you grab what you need as you need it. In this case, all of the bad parts I took off of this, I was able to move over onto this machine, and now I have two. So obviously this machine isn't going to be as clean and tidy as the other one. These front and rear racks were really bent up. I did the best I could. I had to actually weld the bottom bracket back onto that one. Seat's in a little tougher shape. This back rack was kind of bent beyond what I could repair, so I straightened as much of it as I could and got it aligned so I could put it back on. And then this bad front fender section I actually repaired. I put a new piece in here, riveted that together. It's far from good, but good from far. So I've got two machines and only started on this one for 250 bucks, not so bad. So if you want to see the actual repair, how I built that, I'll post a video at the end of this video and you can see how that was done. Thanks for watching the video. We'll see you next time.